sure. Okay, sending data. Okay, so we're live on Twitch. We'll be shortly live on YouTube, and then I'm gonna start the friggin' session. Any moment now, it's gonna happen. I promise. There we go. Okay, we're up on both. Incredible. Welcome everyone. Um, Freaking. What was I go? How do we start a session? Well, first of all, why don't I click off restream so I'm not getting extreme delay and being super distracted. Welcome everybody. This is little. I would hesitate to call it an actual play show because we are actually playing, but it's not put on. This is just a game from my community that stream. I'm Jesse William. I'm the Dungeon Master. I do this stuff professionally. All these little blurbos here are people from my freaking community who just in a game together. Is these kind of people who are on professional games, the kind of people you're gonna see be play with. Be if you join. Spoody boop bop. We're at session 3. So we're gonna do a brief little recap for the characters. Johnny, have fun with this energy right now.
It was the skibbity boop up.
I scat sometimes. Um, we're gonna have such a harsh tone shift when I start narrating. Um,
Like the first time when you went hell.
yeah, go to hell. Yeah. Um, we're already there. Anyways, I will quickly go through the list here of players and their characters. What I would like from each of you is just say, hi, I'm this person's name, and then say the name of your character, and then describe like how they are feeling, and if there's a specific moment from last session that informs how they were feeling now, then describe that also. But I'll start naming people off, starting with John.
Hi, my name's John. I'm playing Gus or Gustav, but more commonly known as Gus. Um, where is Gus's head at? I think fairly bleak, having entered Savednum, and the the vibes here do not seem great, and I think that's sticking with him. And I think mentally we also established that he's maybe not in the best spot just overall. Last session, he's maybe had some alcohol problems for several months before embarking on this quest. So overall, not great. Hanging on maybe by a bit of a thread.
It's real tough to show up in a place and immediately be like, this is bleak. Strong feeling, but heck yeah. uh, Andy.
I think Redmond is not letting himself feel
mm.
as he's
Mm.
going into this because it's not about what he feels, it's about what's right, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. He can have feelings, but they don't dictate what he does.
Our feelings
That's what he hopes anyway, you know?
don't inform our facts or whatever it is.
Yeah, not at all.
Heck yeah. Wonderful. Jacob.
Hi, I'm Jacob, and I'm playing Nicodemus. Um, I think he was initially shaken by just the awe of the dark spire, just like this menacing, imposing creation. Um, but I think he is doing okay. I think he's leaning on his faith in the general, and he's spent the last year waiting to bring justice to Savednum, whatever that means.
Hell yeah. There's also something something I'll wait till the end actually. I want to talk a little bit about justice and perspectives and stuff. But Tunker.
Um, is Marie's feeling a very heavy sense of like this land is likely my deathbed. But I don't think he is trying to linger on it too much. I have a lot of thoughts based on conversations that like David and I had early on about these characters and like their ultimate dynamic. That I won't like yap too much about right now, as it relates to why Ismarie is here doing the things he's doing, and how much he does or doesn't care about like his purpose here within the Legion and like justice and all that. Um, but I think mostly in his head is I will die before Noel does. That's almost like the goal in like a weird deranged way. Um, and but yeah, distinct kind of like a feeling of knowing that he won't survive to see past this land or to go home.
Yeah, yeah. Bleak. And last but not least is David.
That's me. I'm David. I play Noel. This guy, he's a big warrior. And for the last year, he has been worried about going to Svetium. But after reuniting with his comrades that helped him get through it the first time, he is feeling confident that he can bring good change because these people are good people.
Hell yeah. So briefly talking about justice. Um, it's a thing that I've noticed with players where, like Fleeing players where, I think for the most part my perspective on the gods and the pantheon is that people, for the most part, if they worship a god, they view their perspective specifically to that god and don't attribute generally to justice as well. That's just kind of a thing that's like built in my brain. But then I notice a lot of players go like justice when we like worship like other things. Which is a thing that I don't know if like that has to be wrong, but it's just a thing that is like different in my head. But also because like the you know I think there's very little overlap between doctrines, which is to say that like the general is like it's like an expansion pack, and the safeguard's like an expansion pack. And all these gods within the pantheon are like expansion packs. And I think particularly for the general, it's not presumed that we follow greater justice and then general. It's like just this one thing, which is maybe part of the problem. But that's up for all your characters to interpret. I just wanted to bring that up to say those things. I think there's something else I was gonna say, but I forgot. But we'll get, I suppose, into this session, and I will bring the energy down so much. The cold in this place. Should not feel natural. Should not feel natural. It's confronting and almost angry. But I think the thing that's unsettling about it is that it feels like it's supposed to be here. And that's confusing. I think this place is also quite dry. It could be below freezing, but I don't think that there is much frost or snow. I think when you breathe out, it's almost like every bit of moisture is turned in your breath, is turned into vapor.
Steam.
Would it be steam? Is that what happens? It turns into steam because temperature difference? Okay. Well, okay, cool. And I learned something today, maybe. But yeah, I think, there probably would have been some kind of accommodation for this. I think the uniforms, would have been tailored to help in this situation. But I also think that there's probably a feeling of you feel like the longer you stay here, the less these uniforms are gonna last. Maybe there's an expectation, whether it's in your head or not, that you're not supposed to survive here. Maybe that's just a feeling that is in the land, that it doesn't want people here. I figured out how to open up or watch the chat in the streams. So thank you, Kate. It's rapid condensation due to the temperature differential. Rapid condensation. So as your breath turns into rapid condensation. There we go.
That's what steam is.
Okay, everyone knows things here.
Welcome to Steam Talk.
Welcome to Steam Talk. Sundays at 6 p.m. EST. You've disembarked from your ship. The Legion and other factions from Valia have come to the aid of Savednum. And there is this great beacon of Savetic power and safety in the Dark Spire that looms so high over you that you are not given access to. You see, it's hard to describe with a structure this vast whether you would consider its outer layers walls. It's enclosed largely, in the way that you would describe it as a building, but then you see maybe like 20, 30 feet up, maybe a little less, guards manning a sort of opening in these exterior walls, who watch as you pass by and walk into this greater city which appears to be absolutely empty. And the feeling there is dour as well. As you walk through, there are a lot of remnants of skeletons. I think at this point, the bones had been moved so much that there's not a clear picture. But there also appears to be a feeling of things die out here regularly. As you are led to a section of this outer city in this quiet, dark place, you see, I think, so you have Larice, who is your commander, and in charge of, I think, around 300 people, we might say. She's being led by a person who appears to have what looks like bark for skin. They are armored in that like dark imperial getup, and you see that they have a helmet, but their helmet on the top is like a lattice, and there's fire coming out of the openings. And I do words professionally. But you see that they are leading you and your commander to where you will set up camp or where you will be stopping. I will say something above table, which is that as you arrive here, the purpose of this section of this particular session is for you to experience the dour sadness of Day Diumni, and that Sovietic character who will be around, who's kind of like your group's handler, or the three, the commander's handler, will be around to speak to. He will be Sovietic about it, but if he feels like he is shutting you down, it's just me playing the character, and you can press a little bit harder if you so choose. But that being said, everyone is organized into their groups briefly. We will not think too hard about what this setup looks like as you'll be moving shortly. How do you think everyone is settling in Svednum? Who is talking to each other, et cetera, et cetera? And what are you doing, I suppose, otherwise?
What were our orders?
I think for the time, I think in the next day, you will be sent to a place called Alessian, or something that's also referred to as the Alessian Standoff. Ellessian, the Alessian Standoff, in which you will be fighting the enemy there. But I don't think the Fleans have gotten much context outside of that so far.
So as of now, we are on downtime waiting until
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
I think Redmond's probably making sure all this stuff is ready to go over and over again, more times than he needs to.
And just you said there's just like skeletons around, like just I'm just trying to understand. Like there's like just bodies sort of everywhere.
Yes. 1 second. My roommates are speaking just outside of my door, and it's picking up on the mic. The sensitivity. Sorry. Yeah, there's skeletons around. Most of them are like just bits and pieces. But there are some that are like more put together and seemingly fresher, but it still could be like, years old.
I think I'd come back to that sort of oblique feeling, but I think Gus's reaction to that is to try to look to others, and if it seems like there's people that are sort of struggling with this transition, I think he would be looking to try to help those that seemed like they were, because it does feel like a very harsh transition from
Yeah.
Falia to here.
Give
So I
me
think that would be.
an Intuit check, if that's a thing that you have.
I don't have.
Okay.
Well, I could add stamina to it with athleticism.
Well, I think that's specifically for like a lookout based into it rather than this would
Right.
be an insight.
Yeah.
Then in that case, roll me just a luck check.
Okay. 3, 4, 5.
3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 6. Cool. You don't see anyone that you feel like you can help, and I think that bothers you a lot. I'm going to deliver something to you, John, the player, that I think is way over Gus's head, which is that Gus is the most sensitive person here, and is probably having the hardest time with this transition. I think most other people are like, I'm here to do a job. I'm a killer, and my perspective of myself has expanded in the last year and a half. But the core is still there, and I think Gus's heart is somewhere else, and I think his heart being somewhere else is like there's probably a lot of anxiety and discomfort building up in you, and not being able to place the and do something with this feeling that you have right now.
Yeah, I think it would be where you're almost like forced to be with yourself, and like you're uncomfortable with that at that moment. So I think his instinct would be to channel that. Like he'd take out his lute and probably just start like fiddling around with it, and maybe just sort of quietly playing some music in a corner somewhere that he could find.
I I'm gonna just be a little bit mean here. Um, Wooden instruments are affected by humidity and temperature a lot, and a huge change in temperature is something that can really fuck up an instrument and its intonation, which I don't think I don't think Gus is the kind of player who knows that kind of stuff, because also Flea is pretty consistent in temperature.
Right.
So as you're playing, like you trying to tune and things are sounding off, and it's like a little bit where like maybe if someone wasn't paying attention they wouldn't notice, but like you're definitely noticing, and then like anyone who's listening is like, oh, what's going on over there? But I think
Yeah.
it's like even the reprieve of being able to go to a corner and play an instrument is not working for you right now.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be wearing it very well. He'd probably look quite anxious, whatever he's doing in that corner.
What are other folks doing?
I think like if they are separated by like their sort of like positions, within this. um I think that Ismarie, even if he doesn't have the ability to kind of like immediately go sit with them, I think he makes note of like where like Noelle is located. And also I think, yeah, there's just some general like wandering around and like generally observing not just Noelle, but like he's going into this with a lot of like a bit of dread about like this is my deathbed. And I think kind of with that in mind, whereas he would probably hate to admit anything but sort of flippant to such an idea. Um, I think he's more on edge than he would allow people to know, and not necessarily in like a somber way, if that makes sense. Um, More so, gathering this information for the sake of almost like a like facade of control over the situation and what position he's in. Just making note of, how people are moving and what they have and things like that. Very quietly meandering through.
Two things. I think meandering through and looking at, like seeing what's around here, and seeing all these like bits and pieces. This feels like a sacrificial pit. It feels, also, I'll say like these buildings are themselves like, 4 to 7 stories tall, in that like classic Sovietic imperial imposing feeling, I suppose. Although, weird detail that would stick out to you: these streets are so much tighter than the Sovietic ruins in Folia. Everything's much closer together. And the like sizing, like a 1-story building in the ruins in Folia is like 40 feet tall. And like proportionally, this ruin seems almost more humble, for what it's worth. But second, for the purpose of interacting with everyone right now, I think it is like you've just set your stuff down, again, not thinking too much about like whatever setup needs to be done, and you have, free reign, knowing that you have to be in a certain place at a certain time later. Heck yeah. What about everyone else?
You mentioned with Gus that everyone seemed like the other people were killers. And I think Nicodemus is spending this time probably on the edge of camp and has probably taken found like some skulls scattered and is using them for target practice.
Mm.
He's probably set up a few at a few different distances, and it's just taking shots at them.
I think probably some other people will join you. Probably a couple of archers. I think you also see that like around 30 minutes, there's a small like maybe like 5-person Imperial patrol which comes by and just like watches. Again, like their vibe is like so like somber but mean. It's like you look sad, but I don't feel bad for you. Um, but you watch, a couple of these Imperials, just also like watch you, and there's no indication of like, do they have a problem with us desecrating the dead? Um, yeah, but you see a couple of them standing there as you set up for target, or as you are into your target practice.
I think probably at that point when he realizes he's drawing a crowd, he'll just kind of pack up his stuff and slip between some of the other archers or people gathered around and just slip into the crowd.
You see that the practice continues with some other people. I think, because again, this is the Legion. These are at least at a time, were the most morally gray people in Philea. And there is also this bit of pride of like, the Empire fell and we got out from under their boot. And maybe I don't really mind shooting up some skeletons. Some people are I don't think like what's the word? I don't think these people are having the time of their lives about it, but maybe it's a little too comfortable.
Yeah, I think there is probably a bit of joy from that, from maybe making them uncomfortable. But I think a part of him wanted to keep doing it, but then another part of him is just like, I don't want this attention. I don't want people paying attention to me. So it was like, I've done enough. Now it's time to go.
Heck yeah. I think for the purpose of flow, yeah, let's just do this and see what happens. Jacob, Tucker, and John, roll just a d4 for me.
4.
4. Incredible. So then Nicodemus, I think you also 4. Wonderful. So I think then the three of you. So John or Gus, whoops, is off to the side, around these buildings, uh, uh, trying to play his lute and having his own experience with that. And I think as Ismir is meandering and wandering, and Nicodemus takes a break from his archery, and leaves others to it. Um, yeah, I think you just both see Gus. John, if you do me a favor, with Gus like having a hard time with the instrument, and like knowing that like something's wrong, and having that anxiety, and also like it's probably been a minute since you've been allowed to have a drink because you've been around Larice so much. What do you think's happening with Gus right
Yeah, I think his instinct, if the um, instrument isn't sounding right, would be to just sing louder.
now?
And so it it probably is not, and I don't imagine Gus has a bad voice, but it's not like a super pleasant voice either. Um, so I think it would be a bit of an assault on the ears, I think at this stage. And I do think I think he probably snuck, like I know we established he had one bottle left, but like I think that he probably snuck some like on the trip with them, and he's been struggling with whether to like sort of try to tap into that. So I think it would just be a sort of sad scene, honestly, in this corner as he's fiddling with a clearly destroyed instrument and just trying to sing over top of it.
I think Ismary would because Ismary, based on the experience of Gus from like a year ago, that guy was like brave and bold and confident, and this guy, it's like there's a lot of old men who just don't progress past a certain point, and like they're holding on to their 20s or something, and don't quite get that the world is passing around them. And I don't think that's Gus, but I think Gus is channeling a little bit of that energy in this moment where he's like near distraught. And I think Ismir recognizes that in the stark contrast of Gus from a year ago. And then Nicodemus can interpret however he chooses to interpret.
I think I think that like typically like something like this would trigger like a fairly like apathetic response from Ismarie, something along the lines of "Give it up, old man." But I think that there is like this somber like kind of recognition of him thinking that kind of feeling like he will not live past here, and the thought that Gus probably won't either. I have a question. Are people paying attention to Gus, or are people ignoring him? What is like the general vibe in the surroundings?
I think
Given that
um
Gus is now singing loudly.
I think people are probably avoiding a little bit. I think people are taking long steps around. Yeah, I think if we're thinking about this group of people who are not having the worst time in this bleak place, um, yeah, Gus's vibes, his energy is off putting, and I don't think, and there's people who I think even like Gus would have flat with who also would recognize like, oh, this guy's like falling apart. Like he's not the guy I thought I remember from however many months ago. So yeah, I think people are kind of giving Gus a little bit of space.
I think I can add something to maybe the scene. I don't think I fully am gonna sing on stream, but I did write a song that he's probably singing. So I'll just read it as like a poem, I
Mhm.
guess. So it's and thinking back to the oracle's eyes that like he kind of has seen constantly. It's the eyes, they follow me, the lies, they swallow me into this cold, dark land. The eyes, they follow me, the lies, they hollow me away from hearth and hand. The eyes, they follow me, the lies, they carry me into the great unknown. The eyes, they follow me, the lies, they bury me in shadow, earth, and stone. So it's a very bleak song that he's sort of humming and or not humming, singing quite loudly to himself in the corner here.
And so I think that is Marie's response to this. I think especially kind of carried by other people being put off by Gus's vibes here. Um, and I make this decision partially in being like, like thinking about it over the last week, feeling like Ismarie, while I did want him to be like a little bit more ambiguous, I did want to lean into more of a harder stance with him. Um, and not to completely, just to push Mr. Redmond's buttons here. Why would I ever do that?
Not at all. Do it.
um, I think that while he understands, like the Legion understands that this is something he signed up for, and he wouldn't necessarily expect any different treatment upon himself, nor necessarily on his own accord put himself out there in that way. Um, I think he recognized that, like, kind of like by Gus's age, although he's not that old, and just like having worked with him somewhat in the past, this sort of acknowledgement that like Gus has been doing this for longer than like he has, and that a lot of these like young men have, or at least that's his view of it. I'm sure it gets more complex than that. And I think that there's like a little bit of a sour taste put in his mouth by the turnaround on somebody who you're like, as you said, was so sort of like brave, and yeah, I think that kind of bothers him. So I think he'll kind of like move like closer into this corner and just listen for a moment. And upon, any like repetition within the song or the chorus, like trying to like sort of focus on the words. Um, and he'll just start singing really loudly with him. I also don't think he has a really good voice. So it's just two kind of weird and obnoxious guys in a corner. Um, but yeah, I think, and I don't think he's very concerned about how other people maybe feel about this in the moment. In his mind, it just seems like maybe Gus is struggling with something and is struggling alone, and they're all going to die here anyway. So what does it matter?
Uh, and then Nicodemus, is there anything that you're doing, or do you just kind of fall in with the rest of the people who are more like you and avoid these two little freaks?
I think he seeks out the sound of these two voices singing and pokes his head around the corner to see what it is and sees he recognizes both of these people. And I think he walks up. He doesn't start singing, but I think he loudly tries to speak over the singing. I thought there were two animals being wounded or dying or something, but you seem to be having a good time, bad time. I can't really tell.
Just two good blokes spouting out a tune, mate.
Is that a Gus original?
That it is. Do
Are
you
you
have
are
a
you okay?
problem
It
with it?
sounded a little rough.
I don't know. Something's going on with my loot. I don't. It was fine back home, but this place. Well, I don't like this place.
Yeah, you know it's the humidity, right? Like the humidity affects it does weird things with bows too. It's so dry here, like you can feel it on your skin. Give it some time and it should be able to fall back in tune.
All right. Thanks. I saw you shooting over there. You, why would you shoot the skulls?
Well, that's where I like to aim. And like I said, like your loot, my bow, it acts different here. So I plan on killing things tomorrow or whenever we leave camp. So that's why I shot the skulls.
You couldn't draw a target.
I don't have any charcoal on me. And who cares? They're not using their skulls anymore. And if these people had any respect for their dead, they would have buried them.
Well, just because they don't respect the dead doesn't mean you don't have to.
What have they done to earn my respect? They've, these people, their ancestors fought our ancestors, took over, terrorized, and we sent them back here packing. I don't think they've earned any of my respect.
Suppose I never really looked at respect as something that you have to earn. Just give.
I save my respect for my commanders, my leaders, priests, people who do something. I don't have any respect to give to some dusty old bones.
Well, this is taking a turn. Sorry. I don't. I just. Sorry if singing bothered you. Just.
No, you got to do what you got to do. You got to get your head in the right place before this starts. We need you at your best. You need to be at your best, or else people will die. So get it together, old man.
I'm not that old. Just. But point taken. You're right. I can't be a liability out there.
You're right. And just so you know, I do have respect for you because you've earned it. You seem to know what you're doing. You've been in the Legion a pretty long time, I reckon.
Do I look that bad? Am I that old? I'm not that old. It seems like everybody seems to.
You carry yourself. I suppose in a way that makes you feel like you've seen a lot.
Right. That's fair. I mean, the hair doesn't help. But you'll all see a lot too. This is just the beginning.
With that, I think I'm arranging in my head scene. I think I what we'll do is Ismarie and Noel maybe like first night here, and then after that Noel and Redmond on the road. But yeah, so there's this strange way that the Svetiks watch you. They walk through your ranks, and obviously there's a language barrier, which is the primary problem. But there is that feeling of they are above you. They carry themselves with a degree of confidence. Some of after Nicodemus left his archery post, some of the archers were saying that they thought the Imperials who were watching were chuckling after a bit. And it's this thing of like, is this a joke? Are we being pranked right now? Are we just going to be killed here? Are we being sacrificed to something here? Why are there so many bodies? There's a weird feeling in the air, and it's not just the cold. But is Marie and Noel on this first night?
Is this kind of after? Is this the same day as what has just
same
occurred
day,
with
yeah.
Gus? I think I think that night, kind of like with Noel, I think Ismarie will start the conversation, referring to Nicodemus as kiss ass, and I think Noel knows that Nicodemus is referred to as kiss ass by Ismarie. um, um, and I think he says, kiss ass earlier said, something along the lines, I guess, of it's clear the people here don't respect their dead, or they would have buried him, and that he doesn't either. I guess that doesn't necessarily sit right with me, but at the same time, I guess it kind of feels like maybe he's right about the first part, at least.
Well, just because that no one is taking care of them doesn't mean that they weren't important to someone.
Yeah. I guess it just feels weird to me. I don't know, this whole thing. Weird
They
to me
def
how. No, go ahead.
they definitely act differently than us, but maybe them not caring for their dead is part of why they're not doing so well. If you just accept how things are, then it's hard to see how it could be different. Does that make sense?
It does. You're not nervous at all?
I'm nervous. I just hide it better. But
Well,
I
I mean,
trust the people I share my shoulders with. And I trust you.
I guess that'll have to be good enough for both of us then.
Are you nervous?
I don't know if I call it that. Just feels worse, I guess. I don't know, somehow, than maybe I would feel better about it if I understood any of it, how they ended up in this position and what exactly we're doing here. And I know what we're doing here, but I mean, we're here to do what we do everywhere else.
Izzy, do you remember my mom very much? She died quite earlier on, and I don't know if you met her. I think we became friends afterwards. But she always told me that the people that can have the strength are responsible to help those without it. And although I think you like to hide it more than you show it, that's why I'm friends with you, because you always helped people, including me. And because you're asking the question, I think you want to help these people too.
I guess I'm just on edge about what my help is going to cost. But I'm here and I can't go back. And I don't think I'd go back anyway. So, no use bitching and whining now.
We'll make a difference. You and me. We just got to learn how. But we'll do it together.
That first sleep. You've never slept in the cold before. Sometimes the heat can just lull you away, but the cold is sharp. It's piercing and bothersome. Some of you have nosebleeds and might feel as though something is wrong. But as chatter goes about the camp, apparently that's normal. It's just the weather. Your experience of the desert sun. You've been to sandy parts of Phlia. There's dunes in the south. But the desert sun is unbearable. There's nothing that protects you. Didn't know deserts could be cold. That there was an opposite end to the hot lifelessness. They call it the Everdark, which you pass through. Again, when you first arrived here in De Diumni, the sun shining high in the sky, its light not reaching the ground. The sky is bright, the ground is dark, and ever unsettling. As you move through the land, there is almost like a fog of shadow, a miasma, no more than a couple of inches, that sometimes sits. It can be moved and disturbed. It's like a substance. It's just so empty here. It's a couple of days of marching to Alessian. And actually, Andy, I'll let you choose. I want it to be either Gus or Noel to talk to a character with maybe a little more confrontation. But most everyone is marching in their units. You being kind of like assistant to Larice, are either marching beside her and talking or listening rather to this Sovietic person who might deliver orders or make very casual conversation about the capabilities of the Legion. And then every once in a while you walk between the ranks and check in on people or just take note. So I'll let you decide a couple of days into marching who you stop to talk to or stop to bother.
I think I want to give Ismarie all the reason to hate me, so I'm going to talk to Noel and cut that safety tie, as it were, that Noel is. I'm not going to kill Noel. Not yet. What?
Redmond takes out his sword. He fails to hit Noel's protection because he's so weak.
Hand brakes on contact. Yeah. So how would we meet? How would I
Like, you're
confront?
kind of walking up and down the ranks in the march. So you'll kind of just walk in step with him for a second to say something to bother him or whatever. But it's because you have a little more agency. It's up to you to define it.
Yeah, I don't think he's cocky. I think whatever he does, he thinks is right, and he doesn't have this cocky air to him yet. I guess he may get it in the future, but it's like I have to do this. Like this is my job, so he's not gonna like be a cocky asshole. But I think as they're walking or marching, I think um, Redmond taps like Noel's foot with, his blade, try to adjust him into like walking faster, walking in time better in the march, and then goes in the front. Uh, and if Noel wants to speak before Redmond gets here, you can.
Like, come on.
Well, you gotta let it focus on your hand close, and then pull it out. Right now, it's focusing on your window in the back.
There we go.
There it goes.
Hello. I think Noel not expecting it, and you push his leg a little bit to get him in line. He actually trips and falls over and has a bit of a tumble. He's a big boy, and he falls a little bit and staggers and slows down the unit a bit.
Yeah, I think after Noel was probably helped out by the people around him, Redmond still no, just left.
That's not how
Yeah.
that works. Noel got to get
Oh.
himself up.
You're right. You're right. You're right. That's fair. I think Redmond will then like stand in the hole that Noel made, so he could wait just a little bit longer and be like, "You must keep up in Martus." And then he like is in that hole and then walks out of it.
Did I do something wrong, Redmond?
I think he keeps talking as he's walking because he can't really stop and turn around either. Uh, you are not in time with your fellow legionnaires. Keep in time. Keep up. Don't get lost.
All right, I'll try to keep up. Is this like he's kind of like whispering in your ear or getting closer? Is this something
He
that's
walked away.
important?
Yeah, he walked away.
Well, I'll catch up to you.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
You small boy, I'll catch up.
Well, it's like the idea of like you being left behind made me realize that Redmond can't just stop and do it too. If he
Mhm.
is a job, he's got to keep going and moving with it. He stopped for like a second to address you and then left, basically.
I'll speed up and catch up to you. Are these little details really that important?
No, well, you are out of formation. You need to get back in formation now.
Are we in danger right now?
It doesn't matter. Your orders were set. Get in formation, or I'll have to call the commander.
All right, I'll get back into formation so the trees can see our pretty ranks.
Thank you. Keep up. Do not lag behind, or we will
But
leave you.
when the trees start fighting, I implore you to stay behind me. Even though you are strange.
I
I'll
will go where
protect
I
you.
am told. Stay in line.
All right, Redmond. I'm gonna walk off back to the line.
Your group, commanded by Larice, is not the only, by far. Many legions of the Legion, and legions of the Sovietic Imperial, or the Dark Imperium, I should say, are sent to Alessian. But I would say it's maybe like 3-2 in favor of the Fleeans. They're not sending as many people here, which is strange because you saw a lot of people, or it seemed like there were a lot of people in that huge structure. There is that, I think, two notable details. One of just aesthetic and perhaps comfort of the Dark Imperium, in that they have those like blacks, right? Dark blacks, and the Legion is white and gold. But I think also because Savednum is a place that is racially much more diverse. Like it is slightly larger in landmass than Philea, but also divided into 7 distinct lands. For the purpose of people who don't know, who might listen to this, um, uh, I can't take that time to explain it. Never mind. But land, it means like a distinct and difficult border to cross, more than just arbitrary lines. It did not have the luxury of space to allow more homogeneous provinces, as far as race is concerned. So you see that these legions who have an assortment of races are arranged by like physical stature and capability. You see there's certain archetypes of bodies that go in certain places, which is very odd to see because it's like, there might be 2 elves across the entire 300 of you, and like a half orc, and that might be like the most diversity we have, which isn't to say that there isn't diversity in Fleet, but just like the human province, we haven't gotten there yet. Upon the final day, sorry, quick note. I think Gus and Ismay would have witnessed Redmond's dickishness, but wouldn't have been able to step out of line to do something.
Would Nicodemus have watched me be awesome?
No, he's too far back.
Okay, next time.
On the final day, when you're set to arrive at Alessian, in the sky, on a clear day, you see shapes coming down from the sky towards the place you are going. It's obelisks. And I think there's a practice in the Legion for some people to like call out, there's something on the horizon. Redmond, as you're up front with Larisse, and this Sovietic individual is kind of walking in step, just he's always watching, always ready to say something. You see that she'll turn and say, "What are those? Are we worried about those?" And you see he will say, the sort of implied thing of like, are we going to pick up the pace? Do we need to get there soon? And he will turn and say, "We keep the pace." In a very like casual, like, give a shit. But there's something that's deeply foreboding, like needles coming down to pierce from the sky, to pierce the ground. It doesn't look natural or good. So she will shout out her order to keep pace, to not go any quicker. So good with words. And it will be echoed out through the Legion. But then there's just that feeling of like you can see them. You can see them for so long. And the march just continues. If there's anything anyone would like to characterize about those moments of seeing this thing yet to be understood.
I think internally, I think it's going to be his kind of go-to thing is like pushing the feelings down. You may feel scared, but what's important now is doing your job, following the tenets of the general and stuff, He's a job. He can't afford to be scared right now. He's probably shaking and he doesn't realize it.
I think in what could be expected, like Ishmael is like actively, having seen where Noel was before. It's just like actively, his eyes flicker from that to just sort of steady tracking where he is at any given point. And I also think that perhaps on occasion wonder to find Gus as well.
If everyone is, if you're have no thoughts, thumb up. But if you're David has thought. Okay. Oh no, never mind. Okay, cool, sick, amazing. Communication. There's one other detail that I meant to include that I forgot, which is that amongst all of these ranks of and organizations and factions, there are a couple of stragglers. There are people who don't necessarily belong. You see a like hefty, kind of like middle-aged Dragon King, gold Dragon King. They only come in gold in Folia at least. Which sometimes I think you also see his dragon flying above. He is a Gargoria, dragon rider. You see he walks with a Eusimic knight. So like knight of like pantheon of justice, not just justice. Heavy kind of armor. You see as well a pale woman. Of like a tall and bulky stature herself. Annie, what are you looking at?
Nothing. Not that you smiled ominously.
Stop it. But you see my point being here that there's a very clear delineation, I think, between everyone in rank and those. There's maybe 5 or so of them, which is that they're so clearly the heroes here. They're so clearly the heroes here, and all of you are just soldiers. And I think maybe perhaps even particular for Gus, where you had that moment. I think especially with these anxieties, you had that moment, a year ago where you fought with the heroes and you're haunted by it, and you see those people, and you think back to your, like your experiences, and I leave it to you, but I don't know if the thought is like what went wrong, or if you're supposed to be lesser than, or if you're failing yourself somehow. If you'd like to characterize anything about that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, specifically looking at the Eusimic Knights, like that was sort of the life that was laid out for him. Like that would have been his sort of parents' choice for him. He was thrown into, training at a very young age. They are both Eusimic Knights. So I think looking at them, it's and seeing that sort of heroic energy, it's almost like he found a different path to that, but then veered off. I don't know that he feels disappointed in that. Like I think that he never really thought of himself that way to begin with, and has always sort of just been in his mind boots on the ground and trying to help those other boots on the ground, right? But just fell into this sort of larger scale story at a time. So I think it's strangely grounding almost a little bit, if anything, to sort of be in ranks and just be in formation and sort of be behind again. So I think it's almost like a little bit comforting, weirdly.
You see, as the road continues, and it's not much of a distance between here when you first saw these obelisks in the sky and when you will, I suppose, get to your next location, get to Lessian, there is a vast fort, well-enforced walls, and seemingly well guarded, that the obelisks are just beyond. And you can see at this point that the obelisks, these things in the sky, are like shooting beams down into the ground. But there's the lack of quickening of pace still. There's this building dissonance that feels not dissimilar to the Cloud Tower, when the assault at the Cloud Tower, when you thought you were on one side and then you were on the other. There feels like there's deception here. This feels delusional. We're at a regular pace, like maybe it's they've been fighting so long that just conserve energy. But I think there's this like feeling in the Legion that's beginning to bleed into everyone, of people giving looks of like, hey, why the fuck aren't we moving faster? I'm gonna continue to move through elements of stuff, but if anyone wants to like characterize something about a feeling, just like raise a hand. We'll kind of do like one for each moment, but also for this moment in particular, as Redmond is at the front with Larice, and Larice is like looking at this Sovietic guy he's not even looking back at her, just like walking in pace. If you want to say something to him or ask something to him, you'd be allowed to do so, but it'd be up to you to claim that moment.
I don't think he has the gusto yet.
Mm.
And I think he only called Noelle out because he had talked to Noelle before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was one of the reasons he called Noelle out, is also to establish. He had to start somewhere to establish, rank throughout the people. I don't know if he has the balls. Forgive me for saying that, to tell anyone what they're doing is wrong yet.
So yeah, then you march up to this fort, and whatever engagement, whatever combat is happening, there is a slight relief of like when you get to this fort, for the most part, it seems the engagement's happening outside of it. But you march straight through the fort. Gates open on either side, and you see that there is 100 or so, maybe more, feet between the walls of this fort and the walls of another place. Imperial walls. Imperial seeming walls. At this point, unguarded, and as you hear the sounds of spellcraft and shouts beyond those walls, and you look at the Sovietic people in this fort and marching with you, and in the fort now, like beginning to join rank and march out the gates. The standoff was never explained to any of you, but comes into context here as just a rival faction, not of lies, but another group of Sovietic people with a different opinion, who are under assault in this moment, and for the most part are being allowed to die. There is this strange calm that the Dark Imperium has, as first of all they send the Filians forward to breach the gate, the gate doors of the other side. It's not difficult with anyone, or with no one defending them. When you break through, you thought you had seen the scale and terror of lies in Philia. You'd seen thousands of crystalline hatred join ranks and attack entire armies. What you didn't realize is how much of the forces of lies were not sent to Folia as they were busy in Svednum. Things you could not have imagined to see before. It's chaos and terror here. You see, I think, as you step through, already bodies around. You see those in armor. We're similarly, like, I think, slightly lighter colors. I think it's still dark, but it's like a dark gray, and with maybe accents of gold. You see that there on the left, kind of part of the breastplate, that there is usually a symbol of a hand, most oftentimes white, and you see that this place, this fort, the Alessian, is filled with just things. And you see, as you enter through, and I think Larice, there's a couple of commanders who come through and organize lines and begin to send ahead. You see that there are creatures on the other hand who turn and organize to meet you. There are layers of units. I don't think any of you are in the front. I think any of you have the terror of being in the front. For all of your perspectives, Nicodemus is safe in the back with the archers. Ismarie is safe in the back with mages. Redmond is in kind of the middle with the command. And then Gus and Noel are the closest to the front lines. Creatures. You see that there are what look like knights, but what carry themselves with unnatural malice and menace, in all green armor, with this bulkiness. It's almost like the stature that the knights are not separated from the armor. That there's flesh underneath, but they are as much flesh as they are the armor as well. It's a part of their skin. You see that there is a single line of them that is then supported by strange other creatures that sometimes are flying, sometimes crawling on the ground. And they go to meet the Legion and begin to cut through you. You see, as you are yet to be in, like directly in front of them, you can see what's happening in the distance. And you can see more of these knights forming lines and preparing to come down, just one thin line. But you see as well these obelisks touch down and unload these creatures onto the ground. These constructs, these flying constructs that carry just creatures. And you see as well, I think Gus, some of you might have seen them in Brightwall, when Brightwall is assaulted. People who have been tainted by this red crystal. It's almost like it was grown into them. And they are turned against their own will, put in armor, and forced to fight. You see them as well amongst these ranks. But you see very few mortal enemies. We'll quickly check in with brief thoughts from each of these characters.
I think Nicodemus in the back doesn't get the best view of some of the more monstrous things and is probably taking shots at some of the things flying in the air, but not fully comprehending their unnaturalness. But I think he's firmly in the mindset right now of I'm a soldier. Those are the enemies. I kill the enemy. I don't think anything else about it. So I don't think the horror has fully washed over him yet.
Sharp contrast to that. Ismari is not thinking about how he's a soldier and he kills things. He is there. I think that the only thing that has stopped him from from like fully breaking rank already and like kind of like running off to locate the things that are important to him is like the kind of like the moment of like fear, and I think that's kind of it.
I think in stark contrast to that contrast,
Yeah.
Noel, being the closest, sees these creatures and understands immediately the just sheer wrong that Lies has done to these people, but also sees his comrades being hurt, and probably Ismari sees Noel push forwards and maybe mix in with the group and can't quite identify him anymore through the masses.
I'll do an amendment here, which is that the only person who I think has eyes, the only people who have eyes on each other, are in this moment are Gus and Noel. Maybe Nicodemus and Ismari can pick out Redmond because he's not he's with the commander helping distribute commands. But I think Gus and Noel are close, if not side by side, and you all have these quite distinct roles on the battlefield. But continue the last two of you.
Yeah, I think Redmond is initially terrified. He was, shaking before. But I think seeing his commander, stay calm or cool in this as they are, giving out these commands, I think he's putting together, battle is chaos, fighting is chaos. Let chaos be chaos and deal with what you can deal with. And like how does she do it?
Hmm.
How can I do that and not freak the fuck out?
You see Larice, her eyes are wide as she like this is like this is the death trap. You see that the long awaited after all this time. You see that, but she is like the job is to fight, and the Legion does not retreat. She is just giving commands. As Legion members fall ahead, and the part that she's in command of is sort of moved to the front. It's just like I don't want to say like standard formation, but like there's not a whole lot of strategy in this like big complex thing to apply.
Yeah.
You see that she gives commands to the archers and the mages to like do things about the things that look weaker, things that we can look like we can break without endangering other people. And then you see that there is like some sparse Sovitic support, although it's just like there's a lot of forces moving into Alessian right now. But it's like you see both like the acknowledgement of fear and the pushing through it. But last person, Gus.
I think for Gus to build on the sort of anxiousness that we've talked about and established, I think he's anxious, not afraid. Um, and seeing these creatures, I think he's relieved it's maybe not more of a human, or for lack of a better phrase, like a humanoid force other than those few. Um, and I think there's like almost like a rage that he feels towards that feeling of anxiousness. And this is like he's seeing it manifest, and it's something that he can take out that anger on, um, physically. And I think he's kind of almost loses himself a little bit in that fight, and it's just like, yeah, there's just like a rage to the way that he's fighting as he's going through these creatures.
Well, I'll also be very clear here. Um, uh, Lines, right? It's not a thing. It's not a melee in which, like we're open fighting in creatures. This is also not the scale of game. I'll also communicate something about Legacy and Saga for those who are interested. Legacy and Saga is not a game that scales like devils and like divine creatures kindly. A crystalline hatred, a crystalline devil. Um, in D&D when I or lizards and grottos or whatever David says, when I designed them was like takeable by a third level or third tier party. Not the case. Not the case in Legacy and Saga. These things will fuck you up, and they'll fuck you up bad. For every one creature that is on the field, for every one knight or whatever it is, like 7 Legion members go down, and you are just waiting for your turn to face it. And as you watch that, as you watch your Legion members be cut down, and it's like you're next, you see like eventually some of the knights kind of fall, and then like and there's the terror of you're in the hands of the commanders, the archers, and the mages behind you. They're softening things up for you, or they're preventing things from getting to you, and you just have to hope that if you go down, that you're only injured and then ignored. But there's not a strong feeling of like I'm gonna fight through. You're an imp, and these are big, strong, scary things.
Yeah, maybe I can rephrase it then. Not necessarily fighting through, but I'm less focused on the people around me than I normally would be, and more focused on like that rage.
Yeah.
So I'm probably missing like the helping people that I might normally be doing, and maybe trying to help those people who have fallen, and more sort of keyed in on whatever we need to do to these creatures.
Waiting for your turn. Can Gus and Noel, can you give me a luck check, please, pretty please?
Two, a 1, and a 5.
115.
One.
Oh no, sorry, that's a 6. Sorry, 116.
116. That makes it simpler. 136. So better luck for Gus. A lot of things happen in quick succession. One of the kinds of creatures on the field, which a handful of these things join the fight now, they have what almost look like half of a humanoid face, for like the shape of cheekbones and a skull around the eyes, but the eyes are beady. Covered in this shimmering, like almost like oil slick colored, that kind of like weird, gross rainbow feeling. Like carapace or shell or something. Like it's like almost like something that's grown, like a thin layer that's grown on the top of its body. A couple of sets of dangling humanoid legs. Wings that buzz like a bug's. You cannot see them, but you can sort of see the blur and you hear the drone. And all in all, I think these things with very long arms are about 20 feet tall, and most of that is just arm. The body is almost small compared to their arms. Small and pathetic, but still like much larger than a regular person's body. you see they have this like strange, weird honeycomb beard type thing that hangs underneath. And you see it almost expands. And you see from multiple people on the field these like white lines that come from the face. And this energy is sucked out of people into these creatures. You watch as people just kind of turn, Legion members turn into husks around this. And you see Redmond, you see Larice gives a command to target those things. An obelisk that is approaching, this red-orange beam strikes and wipes out just a line of archers and mages, barely missing Ismarie. Like, I think one person over from Ismarie, like you have a one-person buffer, people just dead, just like eviscerated. Redmond, as she gives out this order, and then a part of this force is taken away. She like kind of looks at you to help distribute the order, and then you see this kind of like white energy pull from her face as she kind of turns and lifts, and you see the life pulled from her body. Gus and Noel, you see in front of Gus and in front of Noel, there are both two of these like green knights, not the turned people, but like the devils themselves. You see one takes like a handful of arrows and goes to its knees and falls, the one in front of Gus, and then a broken, like heavily damaged crystalline hatred pounces on Gus. Noel, your knight closes distance with you as it cuts down the last person in front of you. And we're going to do something called a duel. A duel is a special circumstance in Legacy and Saga in which a character with stamina can like go one-on-one with another creature, typically someone who you could logic through stamina with. It's like a little round system. We'll go through the rounds as it happens. David's done a duel before. So we have our pool of stamina dice. Which David, you're tier 4 warrior. How many stamina dice do you have?
I believe I have 6, but I could be wrong.
I should have like 12 d10.
Well, then I have 12 d10.
Let's at tier 4, because it goes 5, 7, 10, 12, and then d4, 6, 8, 10, and then 12, but we're not there yet. So you have 12 d10, and then you would also have a weapon that's a value of a d8, which you would add to each of these rolls. So there are 3 rolls. And the point is to succeed on the last roll, but there are consequences in failing the earlier ones. So you basically, I'll go. Sorry, I'm trying to be quick about this, but it's due diligence. If we succeed on the first round, or more importantly, if we fail on the first round, we have the opportunity to do what's called a feint. And a feint means that you're actually trying to, in the second round, hit under a certain number of the enemy, but hit it precisely. If we hit that number precisely, then we are able to, descend the enemy's dice for the last round. So it's kind of like if your enemy is stronger than you, gets a leg up in the first round, that's our one way of getting it back. Do those words make sense? Yes? Okay, cool. Incredible. So I'm going to find my little guy here in my Cosmic Compendium, and then we're going to roll against each other. That's the wrong thing. That would be very bad if I did that. This guy right here. So I have that plus that. Okay. Give me a second to do brain. And let me know when you're ready to roll the first one, David.
I am ready.
Incredible. So the two of you close distance. If you'd like to also characterize perhaps about I need a d20 too. So also slight clarity, Jesus Christ. Slight clarity. Each of these rolls a d20 plus stamina, weapon dice, whatever. How does Noel feel about facing down this like terrifying knight before the swords clash?
I think it's a case of like being on a roller coaster and being pushed forwards and not having anywhere to go.
Mm.
And kind of like holding up his shield and is afraid, but steeling himself to no, because if he falls, he knows everyone behind him will fall as well. So he gets a sense of a sense of he needs to do this.
Incredible. The first clash of weapons, you see it has this like mid-sized axe that maybe someone else would wield in two hands. It wields in one. It rolled a 53 on its first roll.
Noel rolled a 28.
Incredible. So you have the opportunity to try to feint here. We don't know what its pool looks like. You decide what you're going to do, but don't tell me what you're going for, whether you're going to feint or not. I am going to roll again. And let me know when you're ready.
I am ready.
Okay, cool. I rolled a 41 on the second one.
Noel rolled a 17.
And what were you going for a feint at all?
He was going for a feint.
Okay, incredible. So I'll just be clear about the rules. Because I added extra things after a while to make it slightly easier, but it's not going to help you that much. Character allows you one opportunity to dice submit a character wins first round. Character skill engaged in other combat. Doesn't go 3 rounds of range. Oh goodness. I hope I added these into the document. I'm going to move on very quickly though if I can't find it, and I'll describe to you what a possibility could have been, because I think rolling precisely is very difficult. I also should have I should freaking say. Okay, I'm gonna drop it for now. Rolling precisely is very difficult. So depending on how high tier of warrior you are, the lower you can roll underneath, and I think almost also the more variance you have. So you have a range of numbers you'd be able to roll underneath, and then you also have whatchamacallit. You can expend your stamina dice to get into that range of numbers. However, 17 to 41, far, far out of reach for Noel. We'll do the last roll here, and then we'll describe what happens, and we can only hope that this thing has already expended all of its resources. Do not pay any mind to me finding another dice. I'm just missing one. David, let me know when you're ready.
I am ready.
Okay.
And characterizing this is Noel giving everything that he can to this
Okay.
final bash.
64.
Noel rolled a 71. with a natural 19 for his
Um,
d20 roll.
Incredible. So you will in Legacy and Saga combat, we do all of the numbers first, and then we resolve. We kind of narrate what happens second. So first two clashes. This thing with its axe, um, uh, uh, like yeah, as it swings at you and you fail those first two swings. What do you think? Like, what is happening to Noel? What's going through his mind? How is he physically reacting to this?
I think it's a case of pure instinct. And in a situation where Noel's usually been able to levy his weight and kind of the the disparity between the two. So he's usually going against creatures that are smaller than him and is able to kind of rough it around a little bit more. But this creature is far bigger than him and far more muscular. And he is just panicking and trying to hold his shield. And for the first time, is getting pushed back.
Hell yeah, yeah. This thing is absolutely it's heavy. In a way that's like kind of a natural, because it's not huge. It's big, but it's not huge. But like the weight of the armor, something here. As it pushes you back, it puts both hands on the axe and raises, and the way it's raised is clearly going for your head on that last swing. What happens?
I think Noel raises his shield and it just absolutely splinters into it and just brutalizes his shield in hand. But it kind of gets lodged in his forearm, his axe. And with that, he's able to raise his mace and strike down on his faceplate.
You strike down, and there is this strange moment where it's like, so in a duel in Legacy and Saga, mechanically speaking, um, uh, like the implication is that usually it's something of equal measure, and then it's like the killing blow. But like a thing that appears so unkillable and so unstoppable, it's like I don't think there's a feeling of like this blow is gonna do it. But as the mace strikes down and like crumples in the helmet, you watch like it stand for a second, and then it almost like loses its spirit. Like the very essence of it kind of goes, and there's still a physical kind of body there, but there's almost like a slight withering, and it falls in a way that is not normal to how things die. Like if you smash someone on the head, they go down and they're a weight, and this is like something else. Gus, as you are struggling, this crystalline hatred pounces on you, but it's so damaged that like a moment of struggle and you get it off. And then like Noel's there to help kind of finish it with you. Do you think that do you think there's a moment for Gus where A, like relieved that you weren't facing one of those knights, and then B, maybe thought Noel was going to die or be the next one?
I mean, I'll play John's reaction to that fight, in which I was borderline certain Noel was about to die. so, so I think maybe as the creature was kind of like on top of me, I think maybe my head was sort of forced to be watching. And yeah, and I do feel like Gus sees a lot of himself in Noel. So that was definitely a moment of um, that maybe shakes him out of that sort of anger and not focusing on others that I was talking about before. I think seeing Noel in that danger would have done that.
I think Noel, with his hand bleeding and his shield broken, is going to unclip it and like help Gus up and kind of like shake him a little bit. Get it together.
Right,
You
right.
you
Are you
remember them. You remember them. You need to survive this.
You
Get it together.
see in this moment as of the many creatures. One of them is called a crystalline fairy, which are these small little like less than a foot tall fairy bastards with, instead of hands, they're made of red crystal. Instead of hands, it's just like little like, not pinpoints, but like little like stabbers. I think just in this moment, as there's so much going on, I think one just flies by and like gets Gus in the face, and it's a thing of like, it could have poked your eye out, it could have gone for your neck, just kind of gets you across the cheek, but like kind of surprises you for a second. There's so much on the field, and as you kind of like grab your cheek and look back to Noelle, white streak of energy coming from Noelle's face. David, in this moment, well, first of all, tell me, how many stamina dice do you have left after that? In this moment, describe for me like the face of feeling energy drained from your from Noelle's body.
I think it is a look of just confusion. Like he doesn't know why all of a sudden this is happening.
This weight of lethargy. It's suddenly your armor is a lot heavier than you thought it was. And the vision is going a little tunnely. I think the thing, actually, before I get too far ahead, kind of split second, like as Gus turns back and sees a brief moment. What is a Gus reaction?
Can I do anything, or okay, because it's like that quick. It's just like,
it's kind of already happening.
okay.
And also that's not really how mechanics wise things work of it's. I'll use this also as a thing to talk about Legacy and Saga. In engagements, everything happens at once for the purpose of not escaping consequences. So the point of the system is to question, like, how do we want to like, do we even want to engage in combat? Can we avoid it? Can we de-escalate? And then the tragedy, as that applies to this, is that you're forced into combat with things that are absolutely terrifying. So yeah, it's like a kind of split reaction of just like, here's a person who is taking this effect that you've never seen before.
Yeah. I think I bring Noelle into, I guess, sort of embrace and just say, we remember.
As you bring him into an embrace, you see the energy kind of fading, and just like, it's like the breath is being taken out of him, like his lung capacity is being shrunk. Bring him to a brace, and over his shoulder, another of these green knights bounding directly toward you.
And sorry, in this portion, do I have something that I can do, or is that?
We're kind of a little narrative.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want to say you do something,
I
and
think
then
I
we'll
just
kind of, yeah.
I would just try to turn like him away from that, I guess, and sort
Yeah.
of yeah.
I think as there's a fucked up thing that occurs to you as you kind of turn him away. I think Noelle in this moment is dead. I think he's taken an injury that's going to kill him. But he could come back from it if he gets a healer.
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't think we're gonna. There's a feeling of like, I don't think we're gonna survive that long. You know what I mean? This knight, you kind of set him down and presuming like go to face this knight.
Yeah.
It as it closes distance, this is a fresh thing. And you see it look down at Noel quickly in a way that, like, there's a logic to it that is unsettling. It's doing math. It's making calculations. And I think you watch it. This one has a sword, this clean, beautiful, like straight, knightly-looking sword. Something that feels like wrong in its hand. It wears this image of a knight. It embodies it. It has this boldness, this almost like twisted mirror to what Gus was supposed to be. This false knight. That's the name of the creature. You get it? But you see that it will kind of twirl its sword and then like switch its grip to point downward as it approaches you and Noel. But you can decide how you want to interface with it as it approaches. But like downward isn't to like just stab into the ground type feeling.
To stab into Noel or into the ground? Sorry.
Like Noel's on the ground, presuming there's the connection there.
Right. Okay. I carry like a flail, but it's like a longer one, like a sort of great flail. I think if it was trying to come down on Noel, I would try to wrap that blade and like stop it with the chain on the flail.
Incredible.
And at the same time, I have a shield, so I'd be kind of trying to like
Yeah.
spin it to wrap
Yeah.
it to slow that and like get my shield in the way
Yeah.
as well.
Do you have intuit or intellect? I don't think those are things you have.
Nope.
Okay. Then let's roll a luck check here for Gus.
1, 4, 5.
1, 4, 5. Also make the distinction high stakes. I sorry for not calling it beforehand because not that it changes what you roll, but it changes the fairness. I only realized because 1, 4, 5 gives you one match, which would be mixed luck. But in high stakes, one match is no luck. A knight born of lies telegraphs something clearly to you, and you fall for it. Was never going to go for Noel, but it's super helpful if you go for the wrong move. You see that with this sword in hand, as you go to wrap, it twists and clocks you right in the face, breaks your nose, and I think you fall to the ground. And it goes to stand. Its momentum continues, right? It's all this happens very fast. It's not like taking time for drama. All of these moments were like 7 seconds or so. Getting hit in the face, falling down, and I think, actually, no, I don't know what Gus is thinking. But like absolutely clocked and deceived there. Maybe the thing that I'll give you in this moment as that happens, as you kind of look at Noel, who's like, who knows how long this death will take, but is in his like version of last moments. And seeing how these things just are powering through your forces. What is going through Gus's head?
I think this I think I said he was anxious, not afraid before. I think this is where the fear kicks in. Um, and I think he doesn't have the courage to face it alone in that moment and would start to like try to. I think he's too afraid to face it, so he would try to like, I don't know, cower back into the lines, or how that would work in this sort of scenario.
Yeah, so interesting character choice here. The Legion does not retreat.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
well,
necessarily mean
well, yeah, yeah,
retreat,
yeah.
but yeah.
Well, I kind of curious in this kind of fear and this buildup of just like the lack of purpose and Gus's life falling apart and not being a hero. Um, uh, I think if anyone was going to retreat, and I don't know about if it would be true about Gus, if he is that committed to the Legion or not. But I think if anyone was going to like fall back, and not lay his life down, it would be Gus. But I don't know. But I think I'd like to ask the question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think he would like outright run. I really don't think
Mm.
he would like abandon the field, but I think he would be trying to find a less dangerous spot on the field right now,
Yeah.
and trying to sort of get lost in the shuffle, I think, a little bit.
I think this is what follows. So as mentioned before, before the streaming started, mostly narrative combat. I'll extract a couple of resources from all of you at the start of next session. I'm sure Gus has, took up a buffer from something and whatnot. But worry about that later. In the narrative of the moment, I think Gus, as he tries to get up, you see that the next person behind you steps up in front to close, clash swords with this knight and is handily dealt with. You see like a 1, 2, 3, and then the final push straight through the heart, and I think almost like lifts up, and then pushes this body onto you as you're trying to get up, and you fall back, kind of like falling into the person behind you as well. More creatures kind of overwhelming the lines, to the point, a crystalline hatred pounces. I'm sure I don't think I've described them on screen before, but a crystalline hatred is like a devil made of red crystal. Pounces on the person who you just knocked into and like tears into him. It like steps on your head for a second as it makes its way through, and you see this night as now there's like a body kind of on top of you, and you're not weak enough in that you couldn't push it off, but the question is, can you push it off in time as you kind of get the hand in the right place? Person weighed down with armor, Noelle still kind of there, like losing it, like dying. You see this thing flips its blade again, now standing over you, aligning it to pierce through both bodies. And as it goes down, it's met with the blade of a Usimic knight who moves it away. And we'll close out the session there.
What?
I guess I should also end the stream